The crowd was silent as the wind moved softly across the open wedding ground. Cameras flashed again and again. Journalists were standing near the red carpet, waiting for something unusual to happen. Everyone wanted to see the man who controlled billions but followed his heart in the most controversial way. Ethan Carter stood near the altar. Ethan Carter was a famous CEO, known for his sharp business mind and powerful company empire. People respected him, feared him, and talked about him in business magazines. But today was different. Today was the day he married his pregnant mistress in public. The sunlight fell on his expensive black suit. His face showed no emotion. He looked calm, like a man who had made a decision long ago and was now walking on a path he could not leave. Beside him stood Lily. Lily was 6 months pregnant. Her white wedding dress was specially designed to hide the baby bump slightly, but it was still visible. She was smiling softly, holding Ethan's arm tightly as if afraid he might disappear. People were whispering. Some said it was love. Some said it was scandal. Some said the CEO had destroyed his real marriage for this woman. Ethan did not look at the crowd. He only looked straight ahead, as if something inside him was already far away. The priest spoke the words slowly. "Do you, Ethan Carter, take Lily as your lawful wife, to live together in love and faithfulness?" There was a long silence. The wind moved again. Cameras clicked. Ethan remembered another face in his mind, a woman who was not standing beside him today. But he pushed the memory away. "Yes," Ethan said finally. His voice was deep but empty. Then the priest asked the same question to Lily. "Yes," Lily answered quickly, tears shining in her eyes. The crowd reacted quietly. Some people felt pity. Some felt excitement because this was not a normal wedding. It was the wedding of a powerful man who had chosen a pregnant mistress over his official wife. No one talked about the woman who was missing from this ceremony. No one asked where she had gone. Because 4 months ago, Ethan's real wife had disappeared without leaving a single message. Her name was Emma. Emma Walker was the woman who once believed in Ethan more than anyone else in the world. But today, she was only a silent memory inside the heart of a man who was marrying someone else in public. The priest announced them husband and wife. The crowd clapped. Ethan placed a gentle kiss on Lily's forehead while thinking about a woman who was no longer there to witness this moment. And somewhere far away, a heart that once belonged to Ethan was trying to learn how to beat without him. Everything had started 3 years ago when Ethan felt something strange inside his life. Ethan Carter was a man who had money, power, and respect. People believed he had everything. But inside his big house, silence waited for him every night. His marriage with Emma Walker was not filled with loud fights or public drama. It was worse than that. It was quiet distance. Emma was a simple and kind woman who believed in small happiness. She liked reading books near the window and drinking coffee in the morning sunlight. She never asked Ethan for expensive gifts or public attention. But Ethan was always busy. Meetings, business trips, corporate pressure. Slowly, they started living like strangers inside the same house. One day, Ethan met Lily, his secretary. Lily was different from Emma. She laughed loudly. She spoke freely. She admired Ethan openly. She listened when Ethan talked about his stress and business problems. She made him feel powerful and wanted. Ethan started spending more time with Lily. At first, it was just comfort. Then it became emotional attachment. Later, it became something dangerous that he could not control. Emma noticed everything quietly. She never cried in front of Ethan. She never argued. She only became more silent. One morning, Ethan came home and found Emma's side of the closet empty. There was no fight. No explanation. Only a small note on the bedside table. Love should not feel like loneliness. After that day, Emma disappeared from Ethan's life without telling anyone where she went. Ethan tried to search for her, but she was gone like a shadow leaving in morning light. And instead of waiting, Ethan continued his life with the woman who was carrying his child. The wedding ceremony became the biggest news of the month. Outside the venue, cameras were flashing like lightning in a storm. Reporters were shouting questions. People were trying to get closer just to see the powerful CEO who married his pregnant mistress in public. Some people admired Ethan's honesty. Others called it a shameful decision. Inside the wedding ground, the atmosphere was heavy with mixed emotions. Lily stood beside Ethan, smiling gently while holding his hand. But Ethan's eyes were somewhere else. Maybe in the past. Maybe in a woman who was not there. The media talked loudly about the scandal. Headlines were already spreading on social media. CEO marries pregnant mistress. What happened to his wife? No one knew the truth. No one knew where Emma Walker had gone. Emma had left quietly. She did not fight for her marriage. She did not come to the media. She did not send angry messages or legal notices. She simply vanished. People sometimes said that silence is the strongest pain. Emma's silence was like a broken heart walking alone in a world that did not notice her suffering. While Ethan stood there marrying another woman, somewhere far away Emma was learning how to live without the man she once loved. And nobody saw the tears she had cried in the darkness of her lonely room. For years passed like water flowing silently under a broken bridge. Ethan Carter's life changed in many ways during those years. His company became more powerful than before. The Carter Group entered international markets and became one of the most successful business empires in the country. Ethan's name appeared on the cover of business magazines again and again. People saw him as a perfect example of success. But inside his heart, something was missing. The house where Ethan lived was now bigger and more expensive than before. There were luxury decorations, famous paintings, and modern technology everywhere. Yet the house felt empty. Lily was no longer the cheerful woman she used to be. After their marriage, reality slowly entered their relationship. The baby was born, a beautiful girl named Mia. But raising a child brought responsibilities and stress. Lily wanted Ethan's attention. Ethan spent more time in his office than at home. Their conversations became shorter every year. Sometimes they talked only about business or the child's school schedule. The love that once looked exciting started fading quietly like a flame losing its last light. Ethan often found himself standing near the large window of his bedroom at night. He would think about Emma. He never stopped thinking about her. He tried to search for her online, in social circles, and through private investigators. But it was as if Emma had disappeared from the world completely. 4 years of success could not remove the loneliness living inside Ethan's heart. The memory of Emma never left Ethan's heart. Even after 4 years, Ethan Carter still searched for her. He hired private investigators many times. He checked social media accounts with different names. He asked old friends and even tried to find records from hospitals and small towns. But Emma Walker was like a shadow that disappeared from the world. One evening, Ethan was sitting alone in his office when he received a strange message. It was from a private investigator he had hired 6 months ago. The message was short. "I found her." Ethan's hands started shaking slightly. His heart beat faster than it had during any business deal he had ever made. The location was a small coastal town far away from the city life Ethan knew. The next morning, Ethan traveled there alone. The town was quiet and beautiful. There were small houses near the sea and children playing near the beach. The investigator pointed toward a small bookstore near the market street. "She works there," the investigator said. Ethan stood outside the bookstore for a long time before entering. When he finally walked inside, he saw her. Emma Walker looked different but still familiar. Her hair was slightly longer now. She was wearing simple clothes and talking softly with a customer about a children's storybook. There was no sadness on her face. No loneliness visible in her eyes. She looked peaceful. Emma was no longer the woman who lived inside Ethan's world of luxury and business. She was standing in a new life. A life built far away from the man who once destroyed her heart. Ethan felt something heavy pressing inside his chest. For the first time in 4 years, he did not know what to say. Because the woman he came to find was not the same woman he had lost. And he was afraid. Afraid that this peaceful woman might not belong to him anymore. The small bookstore was quiet. The sound of sea wind could be heard from the open window behind the shelves of books. Emma turned around slowly when she heard footsteps approaching her. Her eyes met Ethan's eyes after 4 long years. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Time seemed to stop between them. "Emma," Ethan said softly. His voice sounded heavier than he expected. Emma looked at him calmly. There was no anger on her face. No emotional shock. Only a quiet sadness hidden inside deep eyes that had learned how to live without him. "You found me," Emma said. "Yes," Ethan replied. "I searched everywhere." Silence came again. Ethan wanted to say many things. He wanted to explain why he chose Lily. He wanted to talk about loneliness, mistakes, and fear. But words felt useless now. "I'm sorry," Ethan finally said. Emma smiled slightly, but it was not a happy smile. "It is too late for that," she said gently. Pain crossed Ethan's face. "I never stopped loving you," Ethan whispered. Emma closed her eyes for a moment. "Love is not enough if it feels like loneliness," she said quietly. The same words she had written 4 years ago came back like broken memory. Between them stood years of regret, unfinished love, and hearts that once belonged to each other but were now walking on different paths. And neither of them knew if the past could ever be healed. The sea was quiet that evening. Ethan stood alone near the shoreline after leaving the bookstore. He did not force Emma to come back with him. He did not ask her to return to the life he had once built around her. Because he finally understood something. Love is not ownership. Love is not choosing someone only when you feel lonely. Ethan remembered the day Emma disappeared from their house. He remembered the small note she left on the bedside table. Love should not feel like loneliness. Now those words felt heavier than any business failure he had ever faced. Ethan looked at the endless ocean in front of him. He knew his life would continue. His company would grow. His daughter Mia would grow older. He would live as a successful man in the world's eyes. But something inside him would always remain broken. Behind him, Emma watched him silently from inside the bookstore window. She did not cry. Because she had already cried enough during the years she spent learning how to live without him. She had found peace in simple life, in books, in small-town mornings, and in freedom from a marriage that felt like emotional loneliness. Sometimes, love does not end with hate or revenge. Sometimes, it ends quietly, with two people walking in different directions, carrying memories that were once beautiful but are now only pain. That night, the CEO who had everything in the world realized one painful truth. He could buy success, power, and fame, but he could never buy back the love he had lost.